You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today, on our Motivation and Mindset Monday, I want to take a little bit of a right turn and talk about a new topic, something that we haven't really discussed before, and that's on relationships. So what I like to do is when we're talking about natural health in general, I want you to know, and this is really more of like that public service announcement, that it's not just about eating better, it's not just about exercise, it's not just about good nutritional supplements, sleep, all of those things. What it's really trying to do is manage all aspects of your life as best as you can. Not necessarily being perfect, but really looking to the point where you can say, I'm doing my best in my career, my finances, meaning like I have enough taken care of, so I'm not worried about that. It's not necessarily about becoming a millionaire or billionaire or anything about that. It's being okay. It's being comfortable. And it's also then looking at all the other aspects of your life. And one of those big aspects is relationships. But also how I want to do this today is I actually want to look at it from the perspective of when relationships can actually become toxic, like when certain friends, family members, work environment, coworkers actually no longer help you in your life. I mean, I'm trying to be nice and say this in a nice way. And I think we all know those people right now. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about this. Stress is at the core of 95% of all diseases. That means that, so we know this, that when we're in certain relationships with certain people or just hang around certain people, whether it's at work, family, friends, that causes us to be more stressed. So what I'm saying to you today is I really want you to think about this. The people that you hang around with at work, the people that you spend your time with on the weekends, start to take a little poll, an independent poll just to yourself, and find out who the people are that seem to be making you feel more negative when you're out with them. You feel more stressed. Maybe you stay out later than you want to. You're eating foods that you don't want to be eating because that's the foods that they like to eat. They like to go to a certain type of restaurant. Maybe you're drinking more than you would choose to drink right now, or you're not in an environment that you think is best for you. I like to say this, that you have to remember that when you sign up for a job, that when you start, now we can't pick our family members, right? But we can spend time, we can choose to spend a certain amount of time with them. But with friends especially, you didn't sign a pact that said, okay, you need to be friends for life. And I don't want to say this in a cold way at all, but what I want you to do is think about this. Sometimes there are, again, are relationships that we're in that are now dragging us down. Maybe we got into those relationships and they actually served us. They did a lot for us, for both parties, at a certain point in our life. But what if you're not in that point anymore? What if you've moved on? What if you're trying to grow? What if you're not the person who wants to stay out till 2 a.m. anymore? What if you're not the person who wants to eat all the fast food or the burgers and the fries? What if you want to eat differently, right? We have a lot of people doing, after they finish the detox, they say, you know what? This really changed my perspective on food, because that's what it's about. It's not just about losing the weight or getting more energy or better digestion or skin or any of those things. It's about also learning. It's about getting a different perspective. And once you have that perspective, things change. Your way of viewing people does change. You're not judging anyone else because remember, you were on that same level. You like those same things as the relationship, as the friendship that you were in with someone. They just right now at this point in their life have decided not to change. Now, could you start to mention some of the things that you're currently doing right now? Yes, absolutely. And maybe they're interested in hearing more. Maybe they too were just waiting for you to try to up the ante, to take it to that next level, or maybe they're not. And at that point, it doesn't mean that you need to so-called break up with them if they're a friend or coworker, but what it does mean is that maybe for a period of about 3 to 4 weeks, you could take a little sabbatical from that friend, that you can focus more on you. You could focus more on your health. You could focus really on your own personal journey and transformation. And what's wrong with that? I see it as this. When you're focusing a little bit more on you, when you're prioritizing you just that much more, once you get yourself settled, you're going to be able to give back a whole lot more, far more than you could before. Remember, how much can a person give back if they're always stressed, their patience is very low, they're not at a good point in life? They're only going to complain more to others. They're not going to lift others up, right? It's hard to. I've been there, and I'm only speaking from experience where, I've been at certain points of my life, good, bad, all those different things. When I'm at those low points, you really don't want to be around me. Like, I'm not a fun person when I'm at that low point, which is why now I try not to dip into those low points very often. And the reason is that I know where I go to. I know where my mind goes when I'm in that position. But now, since I've been there enough and I pulled myself out enough, I have perspective. And I'm able to see myself start to fall into certain patterns. And before those patterns start to get too deep, I pull myself back out. But also at the same time, I know it's not a good thing for me and my health and my energy and my sleep if I stay out until 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. Even if it's the greatest party in the world, I'm pretty much good at midnight. Like if it's a late party, that's it. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, that person's no fun. They're not staying out till 2 o'clock. Well, maybe that's the way it is. Maybe that's another person's perspective, but it's no longer mine. Because remember, I still have that next day that I want to take advantage of, that I really enjoy every day, that I want to get the most out of every day, not just one long extended day. So you have to look at it that way, meaning that you can certainly do all these things in your life. You can have it all. You can stay out till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. I'm not saying that. But what I want you to think about right now is guarding yourself, really guarding yourself, guarding your emotions, guarding your stress, guarding your lifestyle, everything in your environment, and looking at it right now. Which people serve you the most? And I'm not talking about meaning like doing for you, always doing for you, because it's not about that. But which people make you feel positive, uplift you, that you feel great hanging around with them? Can you just choose to spend more time with those people? Like maybe right now on your journey, you're making new friends, because you know what? You're making friends with people that your mindset, right? They start to click. You start to just connect with people at a different level. And now you don't know why, it's this subtle subconscious thing when you're hanging around with a lot of other people that you may have in the past, that there's just seems to be a disconnect. There's this cognitive dissonance where you're going through the motions, you're going out to dinners, the drinks, but you just don't feel as good about doing it. You're just not laughing in the same way. You're not having as much fun because you know that it no longer meshes with your current vibration or where you're at. And this is a real thing. This has literally been measured. This is a legitimate thing. You can even look at it in terms of heart wave variability, and that's a real thing that can be measured. So my advice to you is never forget where you came from, never forget your friends, your relationships, those types of things. But you also don't need to stay in unhealthy, stagnant relationships. You can move on. It is okay. You can still associate with those people. You can still call those people up. You can still have fun. But first, this is my thing. You need to get yourself to that new place. You need to feel like you've arrived. You need to know and be assured of more of who you are as an individual, as a person. So then when you go back to the restaurants, the places, whatever it is, you can choose to eat whatever you want, meaning like in a good way. So like now I don't have to feel embarrassed or bad if I order something healthy at a restaurant when everyone else is ordering like the cheese dip or the, fried whatever, onion rings, like whatever it might be. Now, if it's a cheat meal, maybe I will as well. But I feel very comfortable saying like, no, I'm going to have this and it's going to be vegetables and whatever it might be. And if someone wants to joke around or whatever it is, I joke around right back and kind of make it self-deprecating, having fun. But I don't feel bad. I don't feel embarrassed. Now, before I would have. I wasn't there yet. I wasn't comfortable with the new me yet. But now I can go back, hang out in those same relationships, whatever they might be, and I actually enjoy them more because I'm more comfortable with me. And really, that's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about ever trying to change anyone else because there's not necessarily anything wrong with them, right? We're only talking about you. It's okay for anyone to stay at the current level that they choose to. That's their choice. What we're talking about is you. You want more out of life. Right? And since you want more out of life, you need to start making new steps. You can't keep doing the same things that you've always done, or as you know, you're always going to get those same exact results. You need to do something different in order to get a different result. For me, I still have the same amazing friends that I've had since high school. They're my best friends, love hanging out with them. And we're all at just different stages and different parts of our life. All of us are just unique and we love hanging out together and we just all kind of do our own thing. We're unique, but we're all just great, great friends. And then there are other people that I've developed relationships with, when I got out of college and different work, different jobs, and we're no longer friends. Meaning like we don't dislike each other. We just don't call each other. We're just not hanging out the same exact way. And the reason is that we've just gone off in different directions in life. And that's just the way it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. So what I want you to look at is this from a non-judgment standpoint. I want you to look at it as not good or bad. What I want you to think about is how can we get, for you, next level of your enlightenment or next level of your transformation, whatever it might be. Now, we can look at that from a few different ways. Health perspective, you can't stay out late. You can't get lack of sleep. You can't eat the poor foods. You can't do a lot of the drinking if you're trying to get rid of the Hashimoto's, the brain fog, the fibromyalgia, the fatigue, the autoimmune disease, the rheumatoid arthritis, any of those things. You can't do both. You just can't. You can't drink a lot. You can't eat poorly. You can't get lack of sleep. You can't be stressed. You're not going to get better. You need to take that sabbatical for a certain period of time. Get well, and then you can go back. It's different once you've made that epic jump, that big change. The same goes for, what about career path? What if your passions change? Meaning like you're in a job that's finance-based, where a lot of people that I might work with, or it's civil-based, teacher-based, police-based, firefighter-based, and you're saying, you know what? I want to become a health coach. I want to teach other people a lot of what I'm learning. Well, I can tell you for sure that a lot of people in your current space, not in the health space, they're not going to share necessarily the same values as you. That can be difficult, right? Because you just no longer mesh. At some point, it may become too great and you'll need to step out of that space. You'll need to step into a space where you share more of the values with the people who are teaching yoga or health coaching or personal training, whatever it might be. Nothing wrong with that. Again, you can still enjoy both spaces, but you're moving. Your path is just different. You've decided not to just do one thing and move straight ahead your entire life, whether it be finance or whatever it might be. You've decided that for you, what really is your passion, which feels like your destiny, might be moving, again, more towards the health-related fields. Or again, it can be something totally different. All right. So I just want to take all of these things into perspective because, again, you can apply this to any part of your life. Now, it's an actual relationship, which means a relationship with boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whoever it might be. That's the harder part, right? So you made a commitment to this person. But at the same time, what I want to tell you is this, is that both of you deserve to be happy. No one person is more important than the other, or their happiness is not more important than the other person's happiness. I truly believe that everyone deserves to be happy. There's just one caveat to that. As you're trying to figure out your life, really, really important, I feel like I have to say this, is that I don't want you to ever take it out on that other person. And usually that is a significant other, because you're dealing with some turmoil, some inner turmoil. You're trying to figure out who you are, what you want out of life. But the other person may not be. They actually may be good where they are, with who they are as a person. It's you who's trying to figure out. And I went through years of that myself. Now, hopefully you figured it out a lot faster than I did. But it's not necessarily their fault. Give them some credit, as long as they're not trying to, take you down in any way at all. But don't inhibit their happiness because yours right now is in a state of flux. Okay, so it's just one thing. And bear with them. Maybe they are the right person, but it's you who's just trying to make those tweaks and changes. Or you might be moving in a different direction. You're moving in the space of health. You're thinking about eating healthier and they don't want to. You're thinking about exercising and they don't want to. So now you have to decide, are you okay being with that significant other? And you just have two different parts to your life. That's okay as well. Not everyone has to exercise together, eat well together. But it can make it more difficult if that's really where you're trying to move with your whole life. It's that if it's part of your overall philosophy, that may not be the best relationship for you. Don't take a relationship ever lightly. Decide over many weeks, months, if that's what it takes. Is this the healthiest relationship for me and the other person involved? Because there are two people involved. But I have to end with this. This is very, very important. That you deserve to be happy. You honestly do. You deserve to be happy. And not a lot of people really believe that. And it's sad because they think, well, no, someone else's happiness is greater than mine. A friend's happiness, a parent or sibling's happiness, my work environment's happiness, all of that you put above you sometimes. But why? Ask yourself, why is someone else's happiness greater than yours? Why can't they be happy and you can be happy too? Like, why can't you have both? I don't see an issue with that. This is what I found, that when I'm at my happiest, when I'm living my passion, when I'm feeling good, I tend to bring others up with me, or at least I try. And that type of happiness is contagious, right? It's going back to my favorite quote by Jim Rohn, who I greatly respect. And he said this, and this always, it stuck with me, but it took me a while to really let it sink in. He said this, that I'll take care of me for you if you take care of you for me. And when I heard that, it really struck me as well. That's probably the most profound thing I've ever heard. Because here I am sacrificing my happiness, my health, trying to take care of everyone else, and they're trying to do exactly the same. But the funny thing is, no one knows more about what they need than them. So if we can just give ourselves a little bit more of what we need without being, we're not talking about being overly selfish. We're saying about doing a little bit more about what brings us happiness. Maybe it's a half hour a day. Is that so bad? I don't believe so. I don't think so. And when we do that, I really believe that our happiness will continue to be contagious. So at that point, you'll be able to honestly hang around with any friends, any family, any coworkers, any work environment, and your happiness will hopefully rub off on others, and you'll be so happy. You'll be so confident. Your image of yourself will be so great that you'll be able to be comfortable in any situation. And when you have that, you'll know that you've made it. You really have. You've taken it to that next level. Are we ever there? Have we ever totally achieved it? No, but you will be light years ahead of where you were just weeks, months, or years previous. So my big thing is today, know when it's time to break up with toxic friends, or at least take that 3 or 4 week sabbatical to work on you, to read the books, listen to the podcasts, to straighten out the things, to get clear on what you're looking for in life. And just remember that you deserve to be happy. You honestly do. And if you keep that in your heart, I believe that that will help guide you into what that you may need to do next in terms of the relationships, people, environment that you may need to take a little time away from. Thank you everyone for tuning in to another Cabral Concept. As always, I appreciate each and every one of your listens. And if possible, if you're able to review this podcast, the Cabral Concept, on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you very much. I want to sincerely thank you for your support of this podcast. I couldn't do it without you, and I mean that. I truly do. I also want to make sure you knew that we now have multiple ways for you to find your answers to the most difficult health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging questions. You can find podcast-specific topics like thyroid, adrenal, hormones, sleep, digestion, Ayurveda, and many more at stevencabral.com/podcasts that will then link you to your favorite Apple, Spotify, and other podcast players. Plus, all new podcasts and weekly exclusive video content is being added to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Stephen Cabral. And that's Stephen with a PH. Head on over and subscribe so that you don't miss any of the exclusive content. Lastly, if you've ever found any of my podcasts or books to be helpful, I would really appreciate it if you could leave a review on iTunes or your favorite media player for the podcast. Rating and subscribing to the YouTube and podcast allow me to reach more and more people and help spread my mission of healing throughout the world. Thank you again for being a part of this movement.